Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's virtual meeting of November 18th, 2020. I'll start the meeting with our preamble that we do. Good evening. As Chairman of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen, I am declaring that an emergency exists and I am invoking the provisions of RSA 91-A:2, 3B. Federal, state, local officials have determined the gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with the determination, I also find this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should this disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. And when each member states their name, please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Why don't we start with Linda?
Linda Murray, I'm here by myself in a room in my house.
Paul?
Good evening, Paul O'Brien. I'm here in a room by myself in my house.
Dave Senecal?
Dave Senecal, I'm here by myself.
And Dave Bowers?
By myself in my house.
I'm Brad Harriman. I'm also in a room in my house by myself. Okay, thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda, Mr. Pinio, do we have a need for a non-public this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we do under RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, lowercase a, dismissal, promotion, compensation of public employee.
Thank you. Okay, next on we'll have consideration of our minutes. We'll start off with the October 22nd, 2020 minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on these? Linda, I lost your visual on you, so just speak up if I...
Yeah, I don't on this one. I'll make a motion to accept them as written.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the October 22nd meetings as submitted. Any discussion? Seeing none, have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senecal? Is that a yes, I guess?
Yep, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Brad Harriman votes yes also. Okay, we'll go on to the October 28th minutes of 2020.
Brad, I have one change on page 11. It'll be the paragraph under, it says milfoil. It'll be the first sentence. And it should read as follows. Mrs. Murray stated the reason this line has not been spent, and then it can go, is the treatment of Back Bay with, and then it can just keep on going as it is. So I'm taking out, we have not, and added those other words.
Okay. Anything else, anybody? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept as amended.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes as amended for October 28th. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Linda? Was that a yes, Linda?
Nod your head, Linda.
Yeah. Okay. Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senecal?
Yes.
And Brad Harriman votes yes also. All right.
I believe Linda
See.
said yes. We'll
Okay, next minutes will be for October 29th, 2020.
Yeah, I'm having trouble. My computer freezing on and off.
Okay. So we're on the October 29th now, Linda. Paul, what do you have?
I have some changes, Mr. Chairman, please. On page
Yes.
On page 6 of the minutes, halfway down the column or the row there, it says, Mr. O'Brien stated it is a finance question. So just eliminate the word ED. It's a finance question if we can encumber the money. On page 7, second sentence, second paragraph, Mr. O'Brien stated it was good to try to save money, but it sounds like the board wants to have it professionally done, not professional done, professionally done. On page 12 of the minutes, the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down, Mr. Bryan said it's good that we're growing, some people about growing town government. We're focused on making good investments to focus the resources of this town and not and remove the word of. And then the last comment is, and thank you, Mary DeVries, for kindly sending along a copy of the community calendar. Jim or somebody, could we make sure that this copy of the community calendar finds its way into the budget committee books? Thank you.
Okay, have anybody else have anything?
I'll make a motion to accept as amended.
Second.
Motion second to approve the minutes of October 29th as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brad Herron votes yes also. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's see. Next, we have some public hearings on the agenda here. First one being for unanticipated funds. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, November 18th, 2020 at 6:30 at the town hall, which will actually be a virtual meeting. The acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount awarded that is less than $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B3A relative to State of New Hampshire Highway Safety Project number 21-201 entitled Wolfeboro Highway Safety Grant fiscal year 21 in the amount of $6,300. Do we have somebody who's going to speak to us on this one at all, Mr. Pinio, or?
Mr. Chairman, I believe Chief Rondo is here and can speak on behalf of this.
He can't
Okay.
wait.
Thank you very much, Mr. Town Manager. Mr. Chairman, this is the highway safety grants that we normally get each year. What they've done this year is roll up a number of projects into one large grant. I do expect that we will be getting plussed up with some money later on, but this is what we have right now that has been approved and come through. Again, this is these are the same type of grants that we've done in years past, and it provides extra patrols in the town of Wolfeboro when we need it the most, and these are reimbursed by the federal government. Ladies and gentlemen, subject to your questions, that's all I really have.
All right, thank you, Chief. I'll open up the public hearing now. If there's anybody out in the audience here remotely that would like to speak to us on this this hearing. I'm not seeing or hearing anybody, so I will close the public hearing. Board members, any questions or comments for the chief? Paul?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Are you making a motion, Paul?
Sure. I move that we accept the, you know what, I don't have the language here, Dave. Why don't you do it?
Okay. I'll move to authorize the town manager to sign the grant application for the Wolfeboro, New Hampshire Police Department to apply for the State of New Hampshire Highway Safety Project number 21-201, titled Wolfeboro Highway Safety Grant for fiscal year 21 in the amount of $6,300. How's that?
I'll second.
That was
We have a
brilliant.
motion- we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Paul,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
and Brad Harron votes yes also. Thank you very much for the work on that.
Thank you, sir.
Next public hearing we have is for a temporary event for the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce to hold Christmas in Wolfeboro from November 28th to December 24th, 2020, to include community tree placement, tree lighting by Santa, letters to Santa collection box, and family shopping days. Is Mary here with us this evening to present this to us, or?
Yes, I am here.
Mary.
Mary DeVries on behalf of the Wolfeboro Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we started the season again, or preparing for the season, I should say, again with the search for a community Christmas tree. And we found a beautiful tree, and the amazing municipal electric department team is all ready to go up and cut the tree down and have it moved down into its spot on Main Street, and also string all the lights for the community. So that'll be a wonderful accomplishment right there. We're so happy to have the tree and the help of the electric department. And the lights, they don't turn on by themselves. And sure enough, we've heard from Santa Claus. Santa loves Wolfeboro, and he promises to again use his magic to turn the lights on the community Christmas tree. And in fact, his Santa's hut was put in place just this week in its traditional spot in the park on Main Street, thanks to Crobble's Towing bringing it over there for us. And we've heard from Santa a couple times now, and he wants the community to know that although he will not be able to schedule make planned visits here this year, he will be dropping into his hut on occasion. And importantly, to pick up any letters written to Santa that are left at the hut. They'll be collected there. And again, Santa has told us he'll be dropping in. And while he's there on those visits, he tells us that he will be leaving messages for the community. And our Chamber of Commerce will be sure to immediately distribute those messages all over as many places we can. And there'll be information posted on the hut itself on how you can both leave your letters for Santa, but also hear those messages from Santa as well. A big part of the whole holiday season, of course, is spending time with your family and your friends. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we just ask you to please think about making a part of that a family or friend shopping days, and think about the businesses that are still open today since a lot of restrictions for them beginning last March. And we want to keep them here. They want to stay here, and they really want to have your business. And this is a good time to show them that you want to continue to support them and make it fun. We look forward to the community being festively decorated, and there are other activities going on during the holiday season. And if you need any information, please give us a call at the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Mary. I think just one other quick thing to point out. I mean, you gave us a ton of information there. Just to let the people know that in there, you're also announcing that there will not be a parade this year, just like we've had in the past, obviously, but just so people are aware of it and don't try and show up to that Saturday there for the parade that we usually have every year. So,
That is correct. Thank you,
No.
Mr. Chairman.
well, now I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody out in the audience here that would like to ask questions or make any comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions or comments?
Brad, I do.
Yes, Linda.
Will you, it says here, it is my understanding that there will be no tree lighting ceremony either, that the tree will just light, that it's, at no time will we get a crowd down by the tree for a lighting ceremony. Am I correct?
That is correct. And again, Santa will still use his magic, and he may even try to document that for us, and we'll be able to share that. So, but no formal ceremony. Yes.
Well done, Mary. Well done.
May I ask a question, Brad?
Certainly,
So,
Alyssa, go ahead.
Mary, can you share with us who gave the tree?
That's a great question. I would love to. We're going to follow tradition, and that is to make that announcement after the tree is lit.
Okay,
And I'll make sure you have that, Alyssa.
thank you.
Board members, any other comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Do we have a second? Okay, a motion and a second to approve the temporary event for the Wolfeboro Area Chamber to hold Christmas in Wolfeboro from the November 28th to December 24th. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
yes.
And Brad Hammer votes yes also. All right, thank you. We have one more public hearing this evening.
Thanks,
The
Mary.
New Hampshire Boat, thank you, Mary. One more for the New Hampshire Boat Museum to host the 12th annual Vintage Race Boat Regatta from September 16th to December 18th, 2021, from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the town docks, dockside parking lot, Kate Park, and community bandstand. We have somebody from the Boat Museum here with us this evening to present this.
Yep, this is Bill Markison. Can you hear me?
Yes, Bill.
So, yep, this is the traditional every other year event that we run the middle weekend in September. It involves use of the town docks parking lot and Kate Park for operating events on Friday and Saturday, and then the use of the area for setup on Thursday beforehand. We anticipate running the event in the same fashion that we have for the last number of events. It will involve using most of the parking lot, but as in the past, there will be a lane available along the back of the Avery block so that vehicles can travel through the parking lot. As in the past, the handicap parking places will be retained available for use by handicapped individuals. And I'm happy to go on at some length, but we anticipate that it will run in the same fashion as what we have run in the past.
Okay, thank you, Bill. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Anybody out in the audience like to speak or ask any questions about this event?
Brad Dean has his hand up.
Okay, I can't see all these things, so go ahead and just speak up, Dean, if you'd like.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bill, I had approved that permit earlier, but that's with the proviso that you have a detail officer for each one of those 2 days to assist traffic on South Main Street and in the dockside parking lot area. That has traditionally become congested, and we've received complaints over the years over that. So please just keep that in the back of your mind, that needs to occur. Thank you.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else out in the public wish to speak or ask any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, comments? Other than we do need a certificate of insurance, which I'm sure he's aware of. We'll get before the event here.
Right.
Would you like a motion, Brad?
Yes, please.
I move to approve a temporary event permit for the New Hampshire Boat Museum to host the 12th Wolfeboro Regatta Race Boat Wolfeboro Vintage Race Boat Regatta from September 16th to September 18th, 2021, from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Town Dockside Parking Lot, Cape Park, and the Community Bandstand. Contingent upon following the state of New Hampshire governor's order for COVID-19 guidelines, if they're still in place, and providing the board a certificate of insurance 1 week prior to the event.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes?
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yeah.
And Brad Harriman votes yes also. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Board, and we look forward to another safe and interesting event, and hope that each of you will have an opportunity to join us on one or both of those days. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks. Okay. Next on our agenda is public input, limited to 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes. Do we have anybody out here for the public input portion of our agenda? Seeing and hearing none, I will move on to the next item, which is our bulk vote, which includes weekly manifest, tax deferral release, intent to cuts, and property tax exemptions and credits. Make a motion.
To approve the bulk vote. Items A through D.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to approve the bulk vote, which are items A through D, as I just mentioned. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes?
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brad Aaron votes yes also. Okay. All right. Let's see. That's our agenda. Board committee appointments, which we have none this evening. Is that correct? So we'll move on to new business, which is approval for a conservation easement acceptance, Eastern Lakes Region Housing Coalition. Mr. Pino, I'm going to step down from this one, please. You've seen as I own the property right next door. And the company that I am involved with is working on writing a bid for this whole project too. So just keep everything neat. I'd like to recuse myself from this item on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, or maybe Jim, in the agenda, we had the MRI discussion first.
That's what my agenda has as well.
I think, Brad, item A on the agenda was a discussion of the assessing values from MRI.
That's if he printed the second agenda.
I thought I had the new agenda here. Maybe.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in the old agenda. Pardon me.
okay,
So,
so
we'll
all
do
your
that. It's
conservation
gonna be-
easement people, settle down. We'll get to you in a minute.
Sorry about that. I wasn't in my revised agenda. which I'll
We'll
do
get
back
to you soon.
in. Okay, discussion, the assessing values from MRI. We'll do that one next.
Good evening, everybody, Mr. Chairman. We've completed all the informal hearings that were held at the town hall last week. And we have come up to a final 2020 assessed value of $2,582,666,148. An increase of $373,487,431 from the 2019 assessed value. I will say we are still getting a couple calls, so there may be some minor adjustments between now and when the MS1 is sent. I just don't want to give those people, I want to give those people a chance to hear their concerns and make any adjustments that I need to prevent any, further abatements. So the overall change in town from last year to this year was 16.9% increase for the overall. The residential properties went up 18.6%. Vacant land went up 17.5%. Manufactured homes 38.6%, and commercials 9.7%. The 2-year median assessment to sale ratio came in at 98.72. If we hadn't done the reevaluation, I think we would have been at around 75%. The 1 year, if I look at just the 1 year of sales, it comes in at 97.42%. The coefficient of dispersion, which is our quality rating that needs to be below 20, came in at 8.225 for 2 years. And our price-related differential, to make sure we're valuing the low-end properties and the high-end properties equitably, came in at 1.008, and we need to be between 0.98 and 1.03. So the preliminary notices were mailed out on October 22nd. People had until November, I believe it was the 10th, to call us to schedule an appointment. We had a total of 259 scheduled hearings. 111 of those were in person at the town hall. 103 of them were by phone, and 44 were by Zoom meetings, such as this. Most people questioning their increase in property assessments over the past year. Actuality, it's past 5 years, because the last time we did a full reevaluation was in 2015. So this is the increase in the real estate market that you're seeing over the last 5 years. And the other thing that was in question, of course, was the tax rate. We can't tell them that because this process depends on that information before the state can set the rate. I did indicate to everybody that the tax rate will be adjusted in accordance with the new assessed value of the town. I think the goal of the reevaluation was to adjust all the property assessments to market value. As I said, we come out to about 98%. And this ensures that the tax burden is spread fair and equitably across the property owners. I think as I said last time, we reviewed all the sale properties that occurred between April 1st of 2018 and March 31st of 2020. We measured and did interior inspections on as many sales as possible. The sales that we weren't not able to do interior inspections on, we did send letters out asking those people specific questions as to in regards to that sale property, so that we could get the most accurate information possible. I don't have anything else. Be welcome to entertain any questions that anyone has. Everyone was very polite at the hearings. We had a very, was very respectful as far as the COVID procedures. And I think it was a very successful, evaluation.
Thank you, Paul. Board members, do we have any questions or comments?
I guess I have a comment, and from what I have seen and heard, this went very smoothly. And it's nice that you were able to meet with 258 residents to answer any of their questions. And thank you for the job you did.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing not a lot of questions or comments, and that means you did a very thorough job and nice job explaining it also, Paul. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Do we need a vote to accept the values, or?
I don't know,
So, Paul, I believe you said you've got a couple more hearings to revisit, correct?
There's people that are still calling. I mean, I've gotten back to everyone up to date that's called, but Linda's still getting some emails or calls to town hall. I just want to make sure that those people get taken care of before you submit the MS1, so we don't have to do the abatements. But it's not going to be very large changes.
Okay.
It'll be very
And
minor changes.
we really need this authorization at this point to complete the MS1, correct?
Yes.
So we probably do need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept the values presented to us from MRI on 11/17/2020.
motion and second to accept the revaluation summary of 11/17/2020 for the MS1 report. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes?
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brad Herron votes yes also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to the conservation easement acceptance for Eastern Lakes Region Housing Coalition. As I stated before, I'd like to recuse myself from this. So, Paul, if you wanted to take over this agenda item.
Yep. Okay. So we before us tonight is a document that I think we've seen before, looking for approval of the conservation acceptance for the Eastern Lakes Region Housing Coalition. Who is here, Lenore, to speak about that? Is that going to be you?
I'm going to, can you all hear me? I'm using a new pair of headphones tonight. Can everyone hear me okay?
Fantastic.
So I will give you a brief introduction and overview, and then we have 3 different representatives for the project that are here to answer any more detailed questions you might have. And there actually, I would just want to double check, there should be 2 items before you. The first being an amendment to the original 2010 conservation easement that is already in place up on Harriman Hill. And then the second being a brand new conservation easement that would be on the abutting parcel. So there's actually 2 things we're seeking tonight. And just very great, excellent. Okay, so quick background. I think everybody here is probably familiar with the Harriman Hill project, and they are now looking to enact phase 3. And at the time the conservation easement was enacted 10 years ago, at that point they had a conceptual design. Now, fast forward 10 years later, they have an actual design and realize that in order to build the 20 affordable housing units they'd like to build, they need to carve out or remove 1.08 acres from the original easement. Easements are supposed to be in perpetuity. So in order to make this more palatable for everybody involved, including the Attorney General's office, who has already been contacted about this, they have agreed to enact a brand new conservation easement on 2.16 acres of land on their abutting parcel. That is what we would consider more high valued, more environmentally valuable area, as it contains some wetlands and a small pond. And I believe you also should be in receipt of a proposed site plan that was done by Norway Plains that might help you understand it a little bit more visually. So we are asking for an amendment to remove a little bit more than 1 acre from the existing easement, and then approve a brand new easement for more than double that amount on the neighboring property.
Well, Nora, just so that I double check, the site plan is a one-page document. I can't show it to you. I could. It would be awfully fuzzy.
Right, correct. Yes, one-page
So
document.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So who else is here to speak on the issue?
We have Kathy Barnard is here. We have Bonnie Medico and Sal Stephen Hubbard, who represents the developer. So Kathy, I think probably was able to answer any questions you might have.
Right. Yep. Paul, we're basically here to, in case any of you have questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. Anybody else going to speak from your team? Kathy's here to answer questions. Anybody else want to speak? Bonnie, I saw your little microphone go on.
Well, just here to answer questions like what Kathy said. Kathy certainly has been leading the charge, but I'm also part of the Eastern Lakes Region Housing Coalition and would be glad to respond to any questions or concerns.
Okay, thank you. Board members, questions from anybody?
I just have a comment. I think so the public knows that this document has been reviewed by our town attorney and has been drafted in accordance. So we're signing something that has been reviewed by our attorney, and it looks good to me.
Great.
Any other board members' comments? Mr. Bowers, Mr. Senical?
Oh, I'm all set with it.
Okay. Okay, so I think we don't, do we need a public hearing on this, or do we need public comment? I need some help from you, Linda. Do we need public comment on this one?
If anybody had, it's not a public hearing.
I know. I tell you what, we'll take a motion to approve if somebody wants to offer that.
Yeah, I'll move to accept and sign the conservation easement proposed by the Eastern Lakes Region Housing Coalition on tax map 176-21-1 and for amendment to the existing conservation easement on tax map 176-20-1.
I have a motion, and I believe that our colleague, Mr. Senical, seconded that motion.
Yes.
Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, a roll call vote, please. Ms. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Senical?
Yes.
Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
Paul O'Brien says yes. So the motion carries, and Mr. Harriman recuses himself. Thank you very much, Lenore and team, and Kathy and all of you. I now turn this back over to Mr. Harriman. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Paul, for doing that for me.
Thank you, Brett.
So next on our agenda is discussion regarding the Abenaki reopening plan. I believe Christine is here to speak to us.
There she is.
Hey, Christine.
Can't hear you.
I think we need your mic on.
Volume up.
Volume up.
It shows her mic on, but it doesn't, can't hear her.
got one of those. It's got one of those funny phones. It's really nasty.
Must be T-Mobile.
Shut up. Christine, you're not doing so hot. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, before I talk, oh gosh, sorry, you went away. Before I talk about Abenaki, I just want to take a minute to introduce my new assistant director, Bo Betts. So he is on tonight. I'm going to just let Bo say a couple words.
Thanks, Christine. Hello, everybody. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of you over the last week or so. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to work with the community the best I can. So nice to meet you all.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you, Bo, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So tonight we are talking about Abenaki COVID plan. Things that are different from previous years. So we are still planning on our projected opening of December 26th. Things that we are doing differently is it will be a reservation system. So everyone will have to go online. It's almost set up as a program, so you'll have to register for the spots. Another thing we're doing differently is we're typically open 11 to 7 to the public on the weekends and 4 to 7 during the weekdays. On the weekends, we would technically be open 11 to 7, but we would offer 2 different sessions for people. And we felt we could comfortably, looking at the numbers, service 75 people in the morning session, 75 people in the afternoon. So the morning would be 11 to 2:30, and the afternoon would be 3:30 to 7. The reason we would be doing this is because typically at Abenaki, we have staff stationed at working at different stations, and we rotate them every 2 hours to give them the breaks they need and get them, moving around. That's going to be really hard to do this year with keeping social distancing and sanitizing and keeping things safe. So what we decided to do is we would make 2 sessions, shut down from 2:30 to 3:30, which would give staff time to take their break, and then rotate stations and sanitize, and then start back up again for the second shift. We're looking at not staying open. Typically, we're open Mondays and Tuesdays for private rentals. Looking at our numbers for Wednesdays and Thursdays, we just feel having the staff and the numbers we were getting, it would be best to just focus on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We won't be offering ski lessons this year just because of most of the ski lessons are a lot of children who don't have experience either skiing or on the rope tow, and it is a lot of hands-on and helping and in their face. So we just felt if people wanted to do ski lessons, that would be something they would do privately. And as for the lodge, we would actually have the lodge gated like it is now. We would have someone stationed at the door to monitor bathrooms. And then we would have the gate closed, so the lodge was actually closed to the public. We still have the capacity to do food service. We're trying to figure that out. It would probably be a limited menu, and we actually have gone over with some plans with some of our staff. One of the windows could be open to actually serve the food through the window outside the building, so nobody would be coming into the building. And then just having 2 different kind of crews working. So we'd have like an A team and a B team. So we'd always have the A team staff together, always have the B team staff together. Not necessarily together, but that would be their shift. So if something was to happen, we would have a shift we could always rely on. We are not going to do ski rentals, daily ski rentals. And we felt like again, it was not very safe for the workers. And we have such a small space. So we're really pushing people to do the seasonal rentals. The other reason for that, in the guidelines, we have it as Wolfeboro, Tuftonboro, Brookfield residents, and then eventually opening up to the Kingswood, Governor Wentworth School District, and not having it outside of those areas. We feel like that is probably an easier way to control numbers, so it's more locals. That's to be said, it would be residents, so there would be some people possibly who could be from Massachusetts that own property in Wolfeboro, so they would still be eligible to come. We're also looking at season passes only, and that way all of this could be done online. You buy your season pass. Once you had that season pass, you would be able to book your reservations, and then we would have no contact touching. Everyone would be required to wear masks. That's per the order of the back to, I forget the name of the document, but the one from the governor. So we would have everyone wearing masks, and we have ordered signs to have them posted so people are aware of that. And I think that's it, unless Justin or Bo, I've missed anything. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you've really put a lot of thought into this, and sounds like a good plan to me and stuff here. Board members, do we have any questions or comments for Christine?
Yeah, I would like one comment. I want to say you did an excellent job putting this together. It's clear when I read through. I also like the fact that you're going to be open longer hours during vacation weeks that you have added on there. I think that's important at the time when we're going to have kids are going to want to do more. So thank you for opening longer at that time.
Paul?
Yeah, I second Linda's comment. As usual, well done. Question about the food service. I was just trying to find it on my phone. I think the larger facilities, Gunstock and Loon and those people, are actually not offering food service. If they're basically telling you, you boot up with your car, you do reservation as you're going to do. You go to your vehicle to boot off, have lunch. So what's going to be the determination as to whether you do or you don't do the food service thing? I'm not suggesting you follow those people, but they appear to be going in that direction. What's going to cause you to make the food? Because then people are going to go find a place to sit, and then people are going to go, how do you do that?
Right. So we will have picnic tables outside the facility like we usually do with designated spots marked. So that will be an option. We kind of, when we did the plans, we're just thinking, how could we keep it somewhat similar to what's happened in the past? Are we locked into food service? No, but we also felt like there are people who get dropped off who would like to have a hot cocoa, who would just need a snack if they didn't bring stuff. That was our thought mentality on it. And we were really looking at the plans to say, like I said, how could we really keep it like Abenaki, but doing it safely? So we felt like there is an option to do it safely. But again, it's really up to the selectmen if that's something you want us not to do or to do.
Just keep thinking about it. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, as long as what you're doing is safe.
Yeah, and I think
even
also, sorry. I was gonna say, this is a working document like Pop Whalen. So it's one of those things that we're saying we can do it today, but we don't know if we will be able to do it as we get closer.
Understood. Thank you.
And even if we just have something to drink and a bag of chips for kids, it doesn't mean we necessarily have to cook. But I think there are kids there who, after they're on the mountain for a while, are thirsty and hungry. So I think I'd be comfortable with just snacks. But whatever works best for you. I think that if you can do snacks, it makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense to cook in a kitchen.
Right.
But you'll have to decide whether that makes sense for you. But I think it would be good if we could have some snacks. We have had picnic tables all through the downtown all summer, and people have social distance on that, and they're going to be outside again. And that it makes it, I think, a little bit easier.
And it goes without saying, Christine, I presume there will be no bonfire this year again.
Yeah, no. We are definitely looking at our winter events to see if there are any we can offer with social distancing in mind. But, one of our thought processes was, should we have fires to keep people warm when they were outside at Abenaki when we're open? But we were thinking that kind of defeats the purpose of people lingering and hanging around, and everyone wants to hang around a fire. So we were like, yeah, we can't really do that. So yep, it will be a different look, but we're still hoping. I mean, I think people are excited just to get out there and have something to do. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish here.
Thank you.
Any other board members? Dave, have any comments?
All set here.
Okay. All right, that was, yeah, we don't need them. Do we have a motion on this at all? I know it's on our agenda just for discussion, but do you think we should have a motion so she has a vote of confidence moving forward with this?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve and support the Park and Rec's COVID-19 health and safety protocols as presented tonight.
Updated
For
November
Abenaki.
18th. Updated November 18th, 2020.
Yep, for the Abenaki ski area. Yep. So was there a second there also? Can I hear?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, as long as it's the 18th, 2020 version that we're looking at, that's all. Just put that in the motion.
Yeah, there isn't a date on the document, I don't think.
One I have does have a date on
Aren't you lucky?
it. Yeah, well, I'm special.
Okay, a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes,
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brad Harriman votes yes also. Okay. So Christine, you stay on for this next one too. We have Tuftonboro Parks and Recreation fees.
Yes, so this is being brought to your attention. I did send out bills to Tuftonboro and Brookfield. We typically bill usually October-ish for this current year we're in. I sent them out closer to November. And I just did it for what we've gotten since 2014. Basically, it is, I believe it's the 2010 census of how many people in Tuftonboro, and then they are charged $6.98 per person, $6.98, and then that's how we've gotten the total. They've been paying the same amounts, like I said, since 2014. And then we do the same thing for Brookfield, base it off the census, and then bill them accordingly. When I sent it this year, Dennis, I forget his last name. He is the recreation director for Tuftonboro. He actually had some concerns with it, and I believe you probably have a copy of the email because it was sent to Amy. I forwarded it to her to get this on the agenda. And so that's why we're here today, to either discuss if they should pay the full fee this year because we did not offer summer programming. I did submit a document also that showed what was available for them for 2020, what they had available to them and what they participated in since 11, maybe it was 6/2020, because obviously I only had the information that was in the system. We haven't updated anything further since then. So I'm not sure if Dennis is on or somebody from Tuftonboro is going to speak on this, but this is why it's in your lap. I think they had some concerns. And so I thought the board should make a ruling and not necessarily my department.
I'm having difficulty finding the email, if there is one. I have multiple board packets. Is there an email I'm supposed to find?
there was
Yeah,
an
there is.
email. Yeah. And there also are the figures of what the number that have in 2009 participated in Park and Rec programs, and then what the number was for participation in 2020. And when I did that, it looked like that we were out of 100, we're about 30% of the total number that participated last year or participated this year. So I was thinking that maybe we should ask them for only 30% of the amount they usually send. That was just a way to kind of get at something of thinking.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Paul?
So again, I apologize. It's probably in in this email someplace. What is included in the fee? I recall last summer, we had a bit of a back and forth, and I don't know whether it was Tuftonboro or other adjoining towns. I think it was Tuftonboro. It might have been Brookfield, saying, hey, I pay a fee, don't I get to use your beach? So is beach included in the fee?
So it's specifically programs. Some programs obviously are open to everyone, but specific programs, residents have first dibs on. One example I can think of is the day camp, for instance, that is open to Wolfeboro residents, Brookfield and Tuftonboro residents, and it's open 2 weeks before we open it to anyone else. They have 2-week priority, as well as it is a cheaper rate for those residents versus non-residents.
So the answer
there
is beach is not included unless it's a program that takes place at the beach.
Right. So
Thank
if we were charging a fee for the beach, then possibly that would be because at Abenaki and Pop Whalen, they get resident rates.
In essence, what the town is paying is for the getting the town rate, the Wolfeboro town rate. They're paying for some of our administrative costs and running of the program, and the participants aren't paying that.
I just want to make, again, I apologize. I probably should know this. I just want to know what's included in the fee. What do I get for whatever I pay, whether it's, whether the residence calculation is 10 or 10,000 times whatever number, what do I get? And it's programs. What kind of programs do they get?
There's a list. There was a list in our packet.
I apologize. I'll withdraw my question. I don't have the email, or I've lost it. So I apologize.
Well, it's basically been the same programs for many years now.
At the same price?
Whatever our
Yes.
price is, we raise them sometimes.
Okey-doke.
Yeah, I think, Linda, I appreciate you spending the time going through and coming up with that percentage here, the 30% on that. To me, that sounds like a good idea. A good approach to our neighboring town and stuff. Sounds like it'd be fair. I don't know what other board members think, if that's the way we want to try and go and present it to them. Just any comments on that?
Yeah, I think, Brad, that an adjusted bill would probably be in order. I think that's reasonable if they didn't participate or couldn't participate because of reasons that we have right now that, I think that's reasonable to deduct some of that amount and give them an adjusted bill. You guys work out what it is, whatever seems reasonable, but I think that's not unreasonable to scale that back a little bit.
What's your opinion on that, Christine?
Yeah, I think that's fair. We didn't offer a lot of programs, so they didn't have an opportunity to participate. I would just say if you were going to do it for Tuftonboro, we would probably extend the courtesy to Brookfield, I would imagine.
Correct.
Yes. Yep.
Kind of equal treatment.
Yep.
I don't, Brad.
Yes, Dave.
I don't want to make a final decision tonight. I think that Christine and them should present something to Jim and work it out with him. But just be aware that we're kind of in agreement as a board that it should be scaled back. Whatever that number is, you guys work it out. I don't think we need to see it again, personally. As long as we agree that it would be scaled back, that would be between you guys.
And I'd scale it back in relationship to the amount they participated.
Correct.
That's all. I think that's fair. And I agree with you. I don't need to see it. They can make a decision, but that's the philosophy we want them to follow.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Would you like to have that be a motion?
Yes.
Sure.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion in a second to let Jim and Christine get together and come up with a percentage and figure out what the bill would be for Tuftonboro and for Brookfield to be on the same percentages there.
I'll
Any other
second that.
discussion? Okay, a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
and Brad Hammer votes yes also. Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, CC.
thank you for all that.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That's fantastic.
Right. All right, next on our agenda, the dockside parking lot.
Brad, I have a
Yes,
concern
Linda.
on this one, and I'd like to table it. I don't know about anybody else, but I've gotten a number of calls and emails regarding a plan that's going around, and in one of the emails I think we all received, it talked about L1 and L2. There is no L1, L2 plan in this packet. I don't think we have the information that we're getting emails and calls about. And so at this point, I would like to take this, table it, send it back to the dock committee, which we established, to take a look at the docks and the dockside area. And my understanding, they were to be working on this. So that would be my motion, is to table
Second.
this and send it back to the committee.
We have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, please. I think Mr. Senecal's there. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
We
Why don't you go?
resurrected, we restarted the doc committee to resurrect documents, to get clarity on the docks, the dock expansion, the fixing of the seawall, the sequencing, how much this is going to cost, how long this is going to take, and that included the parking lot. We had our first meeting with that dock committee a month and a half ago. There's a presentation that I provided. It's on the town website of what the charge of that committee was. The dock committee just started to take up the question of the parking lot the other day. Linda and myself have had a few meetings with Jim. We started talking about the parking lot as well. We have two members of the dock committee that are interested in understanding better what we should be doing about drainage. There's some discussion about what we should be doing about considering how the flow of pedestrians and traffic go and into that, in and out of that dock area. And that's the charter of that team of people. And I support what Linda's saying. We should give that team that charter and let them chew on it. And it just feels to me that this is all well intentioned, but it's just a bit out of sequence.
Dave Senical, you had a question or comment?
I know we've seen some alternatives in the past, and in my packet, I only have alternative 2, which I like, but I don't know. I agree with Linda. I don't have the other ones. I'd like to at least see them before I make a total decision, on what we feel we should move forward with and come up with for monies. Obviously, money is important, as you know, because this is quite a few of, looks like pretty mature trees, so they can be costly.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Brad, I apologize. I submitted a different set of drawings to Amy, and so somehow I don't know how they didn't get in your package. So the drawing you're looking at is alternative 2 back from 2016. At the second public meeting we had, the stakeholder meeting, we had a lot of negative comments about the trees, and I think also the trees in the alley on the way in. My recollection was this was the preferred alternative because it maxes out the amount of parking spaces we could get in. And we had a little area off to the Smith River side for pedestrian space. So this was not technically what was agreed to, but it was the concept we were going to. I had then worked with the town manager, and we developed an alternative, which is called L1, L2. And that takes into consideration what has been done this past year, and it builds upon that. And that is what's been circulated out to the stakeholders groups, the people who own property, the businesses in the area. And it was intended to go to you. So again, I do apologize. So we probably should put everything on hold and have a chance to take a look at it. But there was some reason to move it forward, because in the CIP plan, which I believe was approved and will be coming to you, there'll be this project in some form. And I wanted to get more of a visual of what it looks like. So, but you don't have it, so we really can't discuss it. But that's what you would see on this drawing, L1.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I agree. I think we need to, see what the
I think we
L1,
wanted
L2 are, so.
I thought we sent this over to,
Go ahead, Linda.
I thought we sent this over as it came out of the CIP, and there were some missing pieces, and we wanted to take a look at this project as a whole, the dock expansion and the parking lot. And I think we're going to need to look at parking, and we sent this committee up in order to get a full picture of how we were going to address the dockside area with docks and parking and pedestrian walkway, and have them kind of work at it and talk about it, and then come back here to the board with their ideas and recommendations and see where we are. And so I just was surprised to see this here and then have a plan and then get emails and phone calls from people on plans that I've never seen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think I agree. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I have to apologize for this. Dave did get this stuff to me. Dave and I had conversations regarding the plans that are out there and getting these to the board to discuss them based on conversations that I had with Paul and Linda at the Docs Committee. It's on me why you don't have all the documents. So I apologize for that. That is my error.
I'll just move
Paul?
the table.
We did.
Well, there's a motion on the second already on the table for that. Paul.
Okay.
The good news, for those of us that are watching this, the good news is there's been a lot of hard work done by Dave, by Underwood Engineering, and by a number of engineering firms on the docks, the expansion, some ideas about the parking lot. Dave's right. We're all right. You guys tentatively approved this conceptual design back in 2017 or 2016. The minutes of that meeting didn't have a record vote, but it was kind of an assent. And even Mr. Senecal, you were quoted as saying you liked it because it didn't mess around with parking, which I think is a concern people tend to have. That's good. So we got a lot of good stuff, but we have a lot of good stuff. And I think that the challenge that at least I found, I think Linda, hopefully you're in the same space, is trying to organize all this good stuff into a cogent flow of events with a price tag that we all, and with the public telling us what they really want, so that we can go and ask the voters to pony up. Could be a lot of money. So I'm not, it's not a bad on anybody. It's just we got to get ourselves lined up and get an alignment. And I think this committee is really interested in digging into this stuff. There are several members on the committee who are a legacy to the original Docs Committee, Bob Tuffer being one of them, John Thurston being another. So there's some institutional memory and muscle that can be brought to bear. So I just think it's a question of let's vote this to table it, get it over to the committee, let them work on it, get back quickly, because we want to get something in front of the voters here. For them at least to park some money for the dock expansion area this year.
I just want to make one quick comment before we have our vote on it. I remember we did have this discussion back then and about maximizing the amount of parking spaces, but I also do remember we had an issue with the trees being planted along in there, which will eventually grow up and block the view of the lake and stuff. So there was we had to kind of work on that balance in there some more. So just want to put that comment out there that, need to see these other options and, kind of get this whole package put together. So.
Well, there's a number of things here, and this is why, Brad, if I could, there's a number of things here that we really need to chew on. One, that you just raised. there's a question that says, if we reduce parking, should we draw a box around the town and say, if you take one away there, you got to replace that parking someplace else? There's that. There's a conversation that I think is worth listening to about, how much water is coming down the street and moving through that parking lot into the lake, and is there a way to do a novel drainage option, something akin to what Mr. Ford did for us over on Forest Road, which is pretty cool. So this kind of stuff, I think, if we're going to plunk down $1 million or more in this whole project, I think getting lined up on all these things that we need to talk about, not wasting time, but getting ourselves lined up on things we need to talk about is important. So thank you for giving me.
Yeah. And we have a bunch of people who are coming up with ideas that we hadn't even thought about. And that's part of putting it into a group of local residents so they can, kind of chew on it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We're ready for our vote now. So the motion is to table this to a future meeting here, coming up soon, we hope. Have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brett Aaron votes yes also. Okay. All right. Next on our agenda, our monthly expenditure report for October 2020. Do we have Kathy here with us this evening?
Yes, we do. So before you, I have given you the report through October, which is 10 months. If everything was straight lined, you'd be 83% expended. The general fund is 83.5% expended. Saw two departments that were over. One was the Brewster building. I guess you had some water damage. So you're overspent there. However, you do have about $44,000 in insurance that will be added back to that line. There still are some expenses that need to be paid for, but we will be offsetting some of those expenses. And the other one is emergency management, over about $7,500, and that's due to COVID expenses. And we have received over $101,000 in grant funds. Before you, I also did not have a chance to review the revenues, so I did not feel that I could present them to you tonight, so that is why you do not have them in front of you. I do plan to have them at the end of November, so early in your December meetings, you'll have an updated revenue report. I do feel that you're in good financial position with 2 months left to go as of October 31st. I think that answers the questions. There was one other question that Linda proposed today about doing a $3,000 reclass from miscellaneous executive operating expenses into the Libby Museum to pay for the overage of the retaining wall. So that is an entry I will be doing tomorrow, to move $3,000 from miscellaneous executive operating expenses into the Libby Museum department. So if
No, the other way around.
Flip it
From
around.
Libby into miscellaneous expenses.
well, okay, yeah, we usually move the budget, but you want to move the expenses. That's fine. Okay.
We do, just so it shows to the budget committee that we spent it, or they'll chop at that.
All righty. I will handle that entry tomorrow then. Are there any more questions pertaining? I guess one other comment is the auditors just recently closed out 2019, so I do need to look at your encumbrances that were rolled from 19 to 20 for some of your prior year projects. So some of the numbers are a little skewed, but will be trued up before the end of November's reports. So that is all I have this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, thanks and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Paul.
So
Thank you.
the 19 pages of stuff you got from the auditor, are those, all those journal entries, are they done now?
Yes, I did put in all the entries. I also received a draft audit report. I read the 64-page report, made some corrections, sent it back. We are just waiting for a few more schedules to be done before we'll get draft number 2 and hopefully a final audit. I'm hoping within a couple weeks. Can't speak for them, but as soon as they give it to me, I'm turning it around. Want to get 19 closed so we can focus on 20. 20 does have some work to do. We have the old finance director, Pete Chamberlain, working on some bank reconciliations. We've got some backlog of stuff to do. So we're trying to wrap it up and get in good condition, good position for the end of 2020.
So if I could ask Mr. Town Manager and Mr. Chairman, not for the discussion tonight, Kathy, but when we have the final document, when we have the final audit, would you be so kind as to just to help us understand of those 19 pages, were they, and I'm gonna get yelled at, but were they more, you know, de minimis kinds of journal entries, or did we have big swings that we had to work on? I'd like you to give us kind of a sense of, you know, the degree of stuff. I mean, if it was small stuff, it's small stuff. It happens all the time. If it's big stuff, then that could help us, help Jim, help each other fix the way in which we conduct, you know, town operations, because big swings tell us that we might have town operation adjustments to make. I do have a couple of questions about the your first page, your summary, and thank you for doing this. The overspend because of the water leak, am I correct that you're saying, yeah, you're overspent, but there's insurance proceeds someplace else in the town that we're going to tally off the account? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you've received 2 checks totaling almost $44,000 that have not been put against your spending. So we'll be able to put 44, you haven't spent 44 yet, but when you spend 44,000, we'll be able to move it out of revenues into your spending.
So we got a 13.5 over expense, but you got the offset someplace elsewhere. The 101,000 of COVID monies that we received, is that also the same issue? We have the funds but we just haven't dealt with the offset over in the overage of $7,500.
Correct. And you had stipends to the police and fire.
Yes.
So that, you know, I think you also bought some protective equipment.
Yep.
So again, revenues have not had a lot of attention yet, but yes, these revenue entries need to offset the spending that has already happened.
Okay, and maybe this is not for you, but that water damage and the consequence of tearing down the town clerk's office, that's been like that now for a while, and I'm sure that we'll hear that there's a contractor coming on site or something to fix up Pat's office here, you know, pretty soon. Okay.
Right.
And then the last one for you, Catherine, the 106,000 of over budget on debt service. That's just I don't know. You're trying to look at it. Is there anything in there that troubles you?
I believe I was pointed in the direction that it's the library interest for the 3.4 million was not budgeted last year, is what Mr. Chamberlain has pointed out to Jim and I. So based on his words, that's what I believe it is. I believe the interest for the first half of the bond was not budgeted.
So if that wasn't budgeted, that's what you'd call a not so good thing, that we have to come up with $106,000. Is that correct?
I think it's about a little less than $94,000. Yes.
Was that at all in the warrant article? I'd go back. Was the interest written in that warrant article? I would go back and look there. Sometimes we put the interest that will be done on short-term borrowing is written in the prior year's warrant article. So I would check. I want to thank you for doing it. It's nice to have a budget, get to see where we are. I spent a lot of time trying to get other reports to get a feeling whether we were sinking or whether we were going ahead. You know, I think Paul's looking at what happened in 2019. I want to look at it. I think we did a lot of changing of personnel. I want to look at where we are today in 2020 and what we need to do to go forward in a well thought out process. And I think you bring us the skills to do that. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing that and moving forward in that kind of a manner.
Yes, I definitely will identify some of the entries. Some of them were because things weren't done, which was an anomaly in 2019. Probably still haven't been done in 20, but we're going to get them done before the auditors show up again. And I do plan on having actual versus budgets to you on a monthly basis for spending and revenues going forward.
He's still in my heart.
Thank you, Kathy. Any
You're
other
welcome.
questions?
Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
All righty.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a discussion regarding the Chamber of Commerce lease. Mr. Pinio,
Mr.
you're
Chairman.
gonna,
Yep. So, Mr. Chairman, I had met with Linda, with two representatives of the chamber back in, I believe it was August. We had an initial meeting regarding the chamber lease. We met again in later September to iron out some of the particulars. After that meeting, we discussed this topic in a non-public session related to real estate and lease agreements, contract agreements. The document that you have in front of you is what was agreed to based on these conversations. I apologize for the delay in getting it to you, but here is the lease updated based on the dialogue that we had with the chamber and the dialogue that we had with you as the board. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have relative to this lease agreement.
board members, any comments, questions?
I'll make one
Linda.
comment, and I want to thank Jim for getting this out. I put some pressure on him to get it for this meeting because I know the chamber needs it. And I thank you, Jim, for being able to get this out tonight for us to look at.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks for pushing me.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's okay. Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Paul, certainly.
So, I called Jim before tonight's session. I did read this briefly. So the lease amount is $313 for a 773 square foot building, $313 a month. But that's really not the amount of money that gets paid by the chamber to the town. There's more that comes in. And what I was asking Jim, and maybe, I don't know, Mary, if you're there, you could answer the question. Because there's a pro rata share of taxes, there's a pro rata share of energy. What I would, because I think a voter would look at this, or a taxpayer would look and say, wow, that's a good deal. They get $313 for a 773 square foot piece of property on Railroad Avenue. That's a great deal. But actually, the chamber's paying more than that, right? And do we know what the total number is that the chamber is paying?
Mr. Chairman or Mr. Vice Chairman, that's an excellent question. So they do pay a portion of the taxes as assessed. As I told you earlier today, Brenda wasn't in, so I couldn't get that number. I would be able to get that number for you in a couple of days. But if Mary is here and is able to speak on that, that may be able to take care of the issue. Mary?
Hey, Mary.
Hi. So yes, that is absolutely true that we do pay utilities and taxes. In addition to that, in the space that we rent, we house the Wolfeboro Information Center, which the town staffs some of those information center staff hours. So even though the town is staffing those hourly wages, the Chamber of Commerce is paying for the overhead for that and management of that staff.
All I want, Jim, if I may, is I just want to know how much the total average monthly payment we get from the chamber. That's all. I appreciate Mary saying that, we got a person in there, that we're funding that person and the chamber's carrying that overhead. And I don't know how many square feet that is. It's probably, I don't know, it's probably some number. All I want to know is, what do we normally on average get from the chamber as a monthly payment for the use of that facility? That's all. And that's fine.
I will get that number from Brenda and get it to you.
And as far as I'm concerned, if we need to vote on this, it doesn't hold up my vote. It doesn't cause me to, say no, yeah. I just want to know as an FYI, so it's contemporaneous to the record. That's all.
Any other questions or comments on the lease agreement? Seeing none, I think I'd entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement.
Let's move to approve the, go ahead, Mr. Bowers. Thanks. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to authorize the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to sign the non-judicial settlement agreement. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. I jumped down a line. A motion second on the floor to approve the lease agreement between the town of Wolfeboro and the Chamber of Commerce. Any other discussion? Seeing none, have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senecal?
Yes.
And Brad Hammer votes yes also. All right, yes, thank you for getting that to us today.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Now, now we'll move on to the non-judicial settlement agreement with the Gene Russell Memorial Fund.
So, Mr. Chairman, back in the spring, Barbara Lobdell from the Trustees Trust Funds approached me regarding this Gene Russell Memorial Fund and some work needed to be done relative to it, and asked if she could reach out to Attorney Puffer. I made contact with Attorney Puffer, authorized the trustees to work with Attorney Puffer and work in conjunction with the Charitable Trust of New Hampshire to bring this trust into alignment going forward. It's my understanding that this trust is for children who may have medical needs through the 6th grade. And I believe what had occurred was there was some confusion regarding the expenditure of principal versus interest. And as a result, they went forward to ask to have this so that both principal and interest could be utilized going forward. So this has been reviewed by Attorney Puffer. It's gone through the Charitable Trust of New Hampshire. So this is all in alignment to get this corrected based on the recommendation of the trustee of trust funds.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion on this one.
Yeah, I'll move to authorize the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to sign the non-judgmental settlement agreement for the Gene Russell Memorial Fund as recommended by Town Council.
We have a second on that? Thank you. Motion and second to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sign the non-judicial settlement agreement for this. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senecal?
Yes.
And Brad Harmon votes yes also. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is discussion regarding Wolfeboro's participation as a member of the Planning Committee for a countywide communications district.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is an item that very near and dear to Paul O'Brien's heart. But this is something that the Cable Franchise Committee has brought forward and recommend that we not become a member of this. With that said, hand it over to Paul to give you a little bit more background information, and we can try to answer any questions which you may have.
Okay, thank you. Paul.
Mr. Chairman, so there is a piece of legislation that was written into law last year, which is in your electronic packet. You didn't get it in your hard copy. Amy sent it out in the electronic packet. That piece of legislation is designed to help rural counties, rural towns pool their resources so that they can deal with the lack of broadband. By pooling their resources, they become something akin to a water sewer district. And in pooling those resources, they have the ability to collect funds, appropriate monies, spend monies, etc. The purpose of these, again, is for those towns, and I won't mention any other town's name, but for those towns that are what I would call substantially underserved for a broadband service. Here in the town of Wolfeboro, whether we like the cable provider or not, we are presently around 95% served in our town. The likelihood of us getting any USDA grant money is we will get in line behind a long list of towns that have no service. The proposal that is being brought forth by the Carroll County Broadband Committee is to set up a planning group for the next 2 years to establish the rules, the procedures, the governance structure, how they will appropriate money, how they will go about doing all that, and then go to the Attorney General and get the Attorney General's approval, and then they can start the actual planning, the actual construction of this communications district. I brought this to the cable franchise team on November 10th. They read the document, we had a discussion about it, and their position was it was a great idea to support the efforts of the Carroll County Broadband Committee, and I think we should, to the extent that we can use Wolfeboro Community TV for their meetings to help them get their message out, but that our participation is probably not something that we would want to engage in at this time. They took a vote. The vote was unanimous to not participate. There was only one member of the committee, a gentleman by the name of Marshall Goldberg, who sat on the committee, who was absent at the time. I think he had a dentist appointment. So we owe Carroll County Broadband Committee our decision. My recommendation is to this board that we not participate in this planning group for the next 2 years. I think it's better served for those towns who really, really, really desperately need to get a district-wide capability to tax or appropriate money. And I don't think the town of Wolfeboro right now should be there. We can always join at any point in the future. It's not as if this is a club that if you don't join now, you can't get in. But I think from a planning point of view, I personally would think that we could use our resources elsewhere. So
thank you, Paul.
I have a, I don't know, Jim, do you have the motion? I have a motion here somewhere. I do have a motion that to accept, it's a motion to accept the recommendation of the Cable Franchise Committee relative to the town of Wolfeboro's non-participation of the member of the Planning Committee for the countywide communications district effort.
So is that a motion you just made, Paul?
It was.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. Motion and second on the floor for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I read through sections of this, the document that was sent to us. And I agree with, I'll take the recommendation of the committee to not recommend. And I also didn't particularly like the fact that they had the ability to adopt a budget and then we would get saddled with it. We really didn't have a whole lot to say. It reminds me, it's not exactly like, but it reminds me of the school district. And you lose control out of the impact to your tax rate and stuff. So, and I think the fact that we aren't going to gain anything for being part of it. I agree with Paul. I'm willing to support other communities that need it, but I agree. I think that is a, we should not join it, and that's why I seconded the motion.
Thank you, Linda. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on this. We'll start off with Linda.
I vote in favor.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brett Hammer votes yes also. Okay. Thank you for all your work on that, Paul. Greatly appreciated.
And again, I know there's probably some people in other communities that are watching this. We're going to do anything we can and everything we can to help them. They need a lot of help, and they need a lot of federal resource, and they need a lot of state resource. And as long as I'm sitting around, I'll help them do that.
All right. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have other business. One thing I wanted to bring up this evening under other businesses, I think we've all seen them. We received in the past couple of weeks a number of emails regarding and urging us to bring up the discussion about mandatory wearing of masks in town. I talked to Jim and I talked to I think to Paul earlier in this, saying, we put this on the agenda, bring it up under the other business here to talk about. We should at least have a discussion about it, seeing that it was brought to our attention again, as it was earlier in the year when this first came out. So, get other board members' thoughts on that, on these emails that we saw. Kind of go from there. Dave Bowers.
I don't think we can mandate it. I think we can recommend it, but I don't think we can mandate it, because if someone fails to do it, we can't have them arrested or anything. So, and this is pretty much what I read around the nation.
Thank you, Dave. Linda?
Yeah, I had given a lot of thought to those emails, and one of the things I was wondering whether we didn't want to go back to what we had in the beginning of the summer. And I'd like to see a sign that says, "The virus is here, wear your mask, social distance." Because I think there was generally a feeling in town, it's not, it's not here. We don't have to be as cautious. I think we need to say, it's here, wear your mask, social distance, and just remind them. I think that's what we have done throughout the summer with providing space. What we're trying to do is encourage wearing masks instead of mandating wearing masks.
Yep. Well said, Paul.
I think Linda's spot on. I go to a grocery store, and at the front door of the grocery store, it says masks are required. And invariably there's somebody in the store who isn't wearing a mask. And I'm sure that the proprietor could ask that person to leave. I'm not sure that if we mandated wearing masks, that problem would go away. I don't know how you deal with the situation of saying you must wear a mask or I'm going to write you a ticket. I just don't know how that works. I think that our leadership in this past year, and maybe our town's leadership, people signed up to do the right thing. If you decided you didn't want to wear a mask, you appropriately kept distance from people. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's your prerogative. Just don't come near me. But I think that we, Wolfeboro, have got to just remind ourselves of our joint community responsibility. And if you think that responsibility is you get to wear a mask or not wear a mask, it's up to you. Just if you don't, stay away from people and don't go into stores that are asking you not to come in. And I agree with Mr. Bowers, and I agree with Linda. We should just once again ask our community to do what they did in the spring and do what they did during the summer, and just say the virus is here, practice humanity, mask up. And I don't know if the chief is here. I don't know if the chief, can you wheel out those big old carts with signs on it and show us, make them blink at us again?
We can indeed, sir, and we'll be happy to do that. And I would have to agree with Dave Bowers that there is no legal authority that I have either from the federal government or from the governor's office or anything else that would allow us to even write a ticket for the not wearing of a mask. There just isn't anything there. I mean, we can certainly encourage people. We'll help them understand. We'll help engage and try to do all the right things in the interest of public safety. But I have to agree with Dave Bowers. I have combed through the statutes. I have combed through the federal laws that we may enforce, and there is nothing there that even remotely gives me the authority to enforce any type of mandate. So I just want to let the Board of Selectmen know that I think we've done our due diligence and looked really hard at the laws to see what may be available, and there really is nothing. And any ordinance that is written and passed by the town, I believe, would potentially be unconstitutional. And that's just my feeling on it. But we can certainly get messages out. We can get the signage out, and we'll be happy to do that. And we will always be a team player. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I'm in agreement too. I think we should kind of go back to what we did earlier in the year here. Kind of emphasize the importance of it. Strongly suggest and educate the people that this is an active virus. It's coming around again and stuff. So I really believe that's the approach that the town should take in a positive way, in educating the people and asking for them to follow these guidelines and take them seriously. So that would be my approach on it. Linda, you got another comment?
Yeah, I was wondering whether we shouldn't get things back up on our Facebook pages, encouraging the public to get those masks back on. We are having cases, let's be proactive. And I guess I'm kind of with Paul in the fact I sat there through the election with all these people coming through and people choosing to do absentee ballot. There may have been 30 people who didn't wear a mask in all those numbers. So I have a feeling that Wolfeboro really does care about each other. They generally take care of each other, and the vast majority of people will follow and wear masks, and we want to encourage them to keep on doing that.
Yep.
I agree. I had the benefit of being on the Wright Museum board, and you take a history lesson on what the homeland, our mothers and grandmothers had to do during the Second World War to come together and to ration and to do things, and we just decided that it was in the best interest of our country to do it. And I'm not trying to wave the patriotic flag and say this is an act or not an act of patriotism. It's a choice. If you don't want to wear a mask, please just stay away from people, and don't go into places that they're saying, please don't come in if you don't have a mask on. Just don't do that. If you wear a mask, please maintain distance. And I think you're right that we should just blitz the infield that says this is what we recommend. We're not gonna go out there and send out the PD. This is what we recommend, and this is what we strongly encourage people to do. Practice humanity.
Any other comments? Would somebody like to make a motion to this effect? I don't know if I almost think that might be appropriate to kind of have a motion that kind of explains or defines our I don't know, really a stance, but our approach to this, I guess.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen continue to strongly encourage mask wearing throughout the town, that we get our signs back up and start putting notices out on our Facebook and town website.
Thank you. It looks like I have a second up there from Paul. Any other discussion? Have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes?
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yeah.
Dave Senical?
Yes.
And Brad Herron votes yes also. Okay. Do we have anything else under other business this evening before we move on? Paul?
My favorite subject. Atlantic Broadband has completed the cable infrastructure build in the Chick, Bickford, Stoneham, and Janice Farm Road. It's done. I believe, and I'm not going to do a lap around the track, but I believe that's the first CARES-funded broadband provider to complete their project in the state. They're certifying that the stuff actually works. I don't know why they're doing this, but they're going to send people out and they're going to like go door to door and knock on people's doors. Oh my God, I hope they don't get in trouble for that. But they're going to go out and kind of say, you know, we're here. According to Atlantic Broadband, the people up in that section of town will be able to watch our community television and Santa Claus before Christmas if they buy the service. So I'm not here to sell anybody any service, but it's done. They're completed. They're going back to the state and asking for their reimbursement.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Anything else under other business this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with Dave Senical. We'll start with you on this one.
Oh, good. I've been busy. Conservation Commission. Went to that meeting. Went to a meeting with Mr. O'Brien on the police and fire station situations. And also, I spent most of the morning and early afternoon with Dean Rondo and his troop, which included Bob Lohman and some others, Captain Levy. We went to Tilton. We saw their old police station, which is nothing more than a small house. I can understand why they want to get out of there. We went to their new station, which they say they're having a ribbon cutting the middle of January. Good luck to them on that one. But it's pretty well done. It's weather tight. It's all sheetrock. There's no floors, no painting, no ceilings. But it's coming along very nicely. And they don't have to worry about neighbors there because the Tilton Cemetery is on one side and the one of the ball fields is on the other side, and one of the Tilton outlet buildings is at the rear. So they're in a nice location. It's very easy to get in and out of. There's it's going to be a nice station. It's all one floor, and they have it well thought out. And the blocks, if you will, the different sections are set up very similar to what we're going to have. I think it's approximately 30,000 square feet, Dean, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that area.
The square footage, they're sitting on approximately 5 acres. Not that they need 5 acres, but the size of the police department, the building itself, the square footage is just shy of 13,000 square feet.
13,000, okay.
13,000 square feet.
Yep.
It is a very impressive building and very similar in style to what we have come up with conceptually. And interestingly enough, I will just add that the Tilton Police Department is very similar very similar to Wolfeboro. In Wolfeboro Police Department in terms of its activity, number of arrests, number of officers and cruisers, and all the other bells, lights, and whistles that go in with making up a police department. The two police departments are very similar in dynamic. So that tells me that we're certainly on the right track with the conception of the building that we have, and it was good to hear from Chief Cormier. So he had a lot of good things and insights to say, and he's very helpful. And we'll be leaning on him for some additional advice and counsel as we move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and he also, like our police chief, loves to talk.
Hey,
that's all I have.
Top here, dude.
All right, thank you, Dave. Dave Bowers, we're doing committee reports. Do you have any reports, anything you'd like to report on?
None this week.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cable Franchise Committee, Emergency Operation, I don't just call that, but it was a subcommittee of the EOC. Linda and I have attended lots of budget committee meetings. We also had a public safety building committee meeting, and we've also had a docs committee meeting. So that's been what I've been up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Linda?
Yes, I attended the Milfoil Joint Board opening bids for the sale of their dash unit. And we received 2 bids, and we accepted one for $8,500, and we'll be selling that dash unit the first of the year. I have attended a number of budget hearings with Paul, and they seem to be moving along well. I was at the doc committee with Paul, and we met with Jim prior to that. And Wolfeboro Waters met. And the subcommittees reported back to the full board, and we're starting to get some of the testing results from 2020. And once we get all those reports, the assessing subcommittee will produce a report and come to the Board of Selectmen and report their findings. The communication subcommittee, and Paul was instrumental in this, have done some videos of the work being done on Kerry Beach, and we hope to get that up on the website. And the mitigation committee is going to meet with the new town planner and see how they're going to move forward. So that committee is hard at work, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Linda. Let's see, I had a planning board meeting last night. Nice meeting, and got to meet Tavis, our new town planner, in person. Meeting went well. It's a fairly light agenda. And also had a Friends of Libby Museum meeting a week and a half ago. Actually, almost 2 weeks ago now. And so that was it for me. Town manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so budget committee meetings, those have really been going well so far. Couple of items that I would like to reach out to the board with some assistance on. One of them is assisting with putting together and drafting of warrant articles. I'm wondering if there's a board member that would be interested in helping to offset some of that work.
You know, I'll do some attempts at it.
Okay.
I'll help you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Linda. One other item that I think we've got to be starting to prepare for, deliberative session's not going to be too far off. I think that we're probably still going to be in a COVID world at that time. So I have had a preliminary conversation with our IT person regarding how a virtual meeting may look related to COVID, but this is something that we're going to have to pay attention to over the next few weeks. I believe as well, Amy is signed up for a webinar relative to virtual deliberative sessions. So I anticipate more work coming forward on that. And
Jim,
with
the
that
other
said,
person I would check in with would be Pat Waterman, who through her connections in voting sometimes gets some information.
yeah, so I'll reach out to Pat. But that's pretty much been the gist of it. Budgets. Appreciate the help with the warrant articles and everything else. And that's.
If I could, Mr. Chairman. So we've had, how many reviews have we had with the budget committee thus far, Linda? 4? 3, 4?
3.
3. And, you know, they're tigers. They dig into stuff and they get into areas, but I think that the preparation by Christine Collins, I think the preparation by our beloved chief, I think Amy Muccio's preparation,
Barry.
and Barry's, well, I wasn't there for Barry's, but he's always prepared, bless his heart. And Barry's preparation, I think has gone a long way. I think the budget committee is, they're still anxious to make sure that they do their diligence, but I think they're finding that this was a good budget prep year. So far, thanks to all those people who've done that, and to you as well, Jim.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, questions from the press. Alyssa, do you have any more information you'd like to get from us here?
Garner from us.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that Calvary Church Wolfeboro has made the news with 25 COVID cases. And I read the church's response on their website, and they said they were well under 50% capacity, and that the staff all wore masks. They had masks available for people, and they're helping each other get through this. So HHS is evidently investigating this, but in our community with our emergency management team, is there a process where churches or places that have gatherings sort of review what happened? Because this is having a big impact on our community. And I don't know what 50% capacity is. I don't know what the capacity is, whether it's based on square footage of the room that you're in, how that's determined. The governor has talked about numbers of people in a group, but how big is the space, that sort of thing. So I think people obviously don't want this to happen. They want to be safe, but I don't think all of us understand what the parameters are. And clearly something went very wrong. This was a super spreader event, and Wolfeboro's on TV now, on MUR, and because of this. And I just wonder if there's any part of the town that will look into this and try to figure out how to avoid that from happening. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, good question, good comments. I don't know, Jim, do you have any thoughts on that? Will our emergency management director or anybody going to be kind of looking in along with outside agencies at what happened, what could have been preventative? Or
if I may, I did have a conversation with Chief Rondo regarding this topic. I believe he's probably best prepared to be able to speak to this. If the board would like, I would prefer Chief Rondo speak to this as the operations section chief of the emergency management team.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. I hear what you said, and I understand your questions. There are some things that I can speak directly to, some things that I'm not going to speak directly to because they may triple cross HIPAA regulations and requirements, and I hope you understand that. The first thing that I'm going to say is that in the type of event that we're in right now, which is essentially still a global pandemic, if you will, sure, bad things happen, okay? And we have a cluster that has occurred, and that cluster is being investigated by the state. My wife, who is also the town's health officer, was aware of this. She was tracking with the state, tracking with individuals at the Calvary Church, and going over with them and providing them all the guidance and resources that they need in order to combat this most effectively and make sure that we contain this as best we can and keep everybody safe. The EOC had a meeting just a few days ago that was alluded to by several members of the Board of Selectmen that attended. This was a topic of discussion at that time, although the numbers hadn't essentially peaked yet. So we were aware of it, and we were doing everything we possibly could to make sure that everybody was staying safe and doing all the right things. That being said, I'll take any specific questions that you have that I may answer. But the state is aware of this. The state does do the contract tracing. They have been notifying people. In fact, today, the public safety members of the public safety team down at the public safety building all went through the first initial test for COVID-19. All of us on duty today came back negative. That's a good thing. So everybody, I think, is doing all the right things. But even during something like this, we know we're going to have outbreaks. We know we're going to have clusters, and it happens. And now we have to deal with it. What are your questions, ma'am?
Well, when I read the piece on the website,
I can't speak to what the church wrote. One, I haven't read it, and two, I don't know. I don't really know anything about the size of their building or any of that, so I can't speak to that end of it.
well, my question really is how an entity knows what is safe capacity. And I don't know if you say 50% capacity, restaurants are supposed to be at 50% capacity. I suppose every building has capacity. I don't know if every building that houses groups is aware of that capacity number. So I don't know. I don't know if we could have more education on that on our website or what.
Well, so relative to capacity in buildings, they do know, the owners of the buildings and the groups and so forth and so on, and whether it's a place of assembly like a church or a school, they know what their capacity is because they have to be approved by the town and by the state for those purposes. So there's somewhere in the building, there is a sheet which is signed by somebody granting them occupancy at a certain level. I see them all the time when I go in a building. Now, I don't know the nature in which he was making that comment. I can't comment on that one way or the other in terms of what he meant, what he didn't mean. I haven't read that. I didn't see that.
Well, it could be anyone, anywhere. I'm saying it's a question within our community. It doesn't have to be a specific place, but anyway.
I'm not sure I understand your question, ma'am.
Well, you did answer in part because you said Shelley has been involved and she's offering guidance and resources.
That's correct, and she is aware of it. She is tracking on it, and beyond that, we'll get through this, and we'll get through it as a team, and we'll get through it cooperating with one another. It's unfortunate it happened, but we're dealing with it and we're moving forward. I hope that was, I hope that answers your questions. If you have something a bit more specific, I'll be happy to address it.
I'm fine for now, Dean.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alyssa, I think your very specific questions regarding the occupant load would be best addressed to the fire chief.
Yeah, Dave Seneca, you had your hand up, or you had an answer or a comment toward Alyssa's question there, Dave?
Yeah, and basically Dean and Jim have answered it. Every place of assembly has a placard in that room as to what the capacity is, and it's based on square footage, whether they have fixed seats or movable seats. And there are certain things taken out, like a stage area or whatever. But you go into any building in this town that has a, quote, place of assembly, you'll see those certificates on the walls, and they're based on certain things, again, types of seats, you know, those kinds of things. So they're all there. You can walk into any dining room or whatever, a place of assembly, and find those. You'll find it somewhere.
Well, the good thing is that contact tracing is underway.
Yes.
Which helps protect the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is that all? Is that it, Alyssa? Or you got anything else for us?
Yeah, just one last thing. I would say that until the inoculations, if you will, or the antiviral drugs become made available in the form of an inoculation, the best thing we can do is to maintain social distancing, wear masks, and frequent hand washing and sanitization as best we can. And those are the things that made us successful early on. And those are the types of things that we need to do now, absent anything else to combat this. We know those are effective. As basic as they are, they're effective. So I know people may be a little unnerved because we had this cluster, if you will, within Wolfeboro. And sure, it is unnerving, but staying within your family group, staying within the bubble of contact of people that you normally deal with, limiting your foreign exposure outside those groups. And when you do have those types of exposures, whether you're going to the gas station to get fuel or having the car repaired or inspected or going to get groceries, do all the things that you did early on in the March through June timeframe that made us very successful. Wash your hand, wear masks, if need be, wear gloves, wipe down handles on gas pumps and so forth and so on. I think all those things will make us successful. Basics win. Basics will win. If we follow the basics, we'll win. It made us successful early on. It'll keep us safe now moving forward until the doctors and the virologists get us the necessary vaccines. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Okay, anything else, Alyssa?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Brad.
Okay, thanks. One more session of public input. Anybody out there have any questions or comments for us? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Motion a second to go into non-public. Have a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
And Dave Seneca? And Brad Hammer votes yes also. Thank you, everybody.
We staying here, Jim? You're gonna